Hello, I am Kimberly Miner, and today I am bringing to you a discussion about redefining security in modern careers. There is a point in every era where the way we once understood work, success, and professional certainty no longer holds the same truth it once did. And you've probably guessed it. We are standing in one of those points right now, and pretending otherwise does not make us safer. Rather, it makes us unprepared. The world has matured, markets have matured, expectations matured, and so must the way we think about stability. Not as a sentimental memory of a past that isn't returning in the same form, but as a disciplined understanding of how power, relevance, and professional security actually function now. When you strip away the nostalgia for what work used to represent, what you begin to see with clarity is that stability was never a promise. It was a pattern, and patterns, they change. Industry shifts are not personal insults. They are structural realities. Historical cycles have always reshaped how people work, what skills matter, and how value is exchanged. And our current moment is simply another chapter in that evolution. The difference is that now change is faster, louder, and far less polite. And so the mature response isn't panic, it's discipline. The professionals who succeed now are not the ones who demand certainty. They are the ones who learn how to function intelligently without needing it. That requires emotional steadiness, but it also requires intellectual honesty. You have to be willing to tell yourself the truth about the environment you are in. The economy is dynamic, we all know. Careers are fluid. Some of us are finding out perhaps for the first time. Some of us are deeply rooted in that reality. Companies adjust strategy when necessary, and so must the people who work inside them. Not reactively, not fearfully, but deliberately. Security today comes from internal infrastructure, not external illusion. It is the strength of your thinking, the sophistication of your judgment, the resilience of your identity, your willingness to evolve without losing who you are. That is the substance that holds when markets don't. It's the kind of groundedness that does not evaporate when a reorganization happens, when technology, AI disrupts a role, or when industries take unexpected turns. Titles can be taken away, trends can become obsolete, but capacity, wisdom, competence, credibility, and composure are assets that travel with you. That matters. Because what many people are really grieving is not the loss of a job, it's the loss of predictability. The quieter conversation happening beneath the statistics, beneath the headlines, beneath restructuring announcements and innovation narratives is the emotional recalibration people are being forced to make. For decades, many professionals leveraged identity through stability. Now the equation is reversed. Identity must become anchored in self, not circumstance. This shift isn't happening in isolation. It's happening against the backdrop of economic recalibration, expanding technology, as I mentioned earlier, and a global workforce that is more skilled, more ambitious, and more competitive, we all would agree, I'm sure, than at any time in history. Organizations are not inherently cruel for adjusting. They are responding, as we all are, they are responding as institutions to realities that move faster than long-term guarantees. And if institutions are forced to evolve structurally, then professionals must evolve personally, and that is not harsh. It's alignment with reality. What separates resilient professionals from fragile ones in times like this is not arrogance or bravado, it is perspective. It is the ability to understand that uncertainty does not automatically equal danger, and change does not automatically equal loss of worth. The most grounded leaders are the ones who refuse to internalize systemic shifts as personal rejection. Instead, they interpret them as signals. They listen, they assess, they regroup, and they decide how to position themselves intelligently rather than emotionally. And that mindset shift is everything. Because when insecurity leads the narrative, people either cling too tightly to failing structures or they detach completely and operate from fear. But when clarity leads, people operate from strength. They become thoughtful about where they place their energy. They stay present to what is happening around them without being consumed by it. They develop a quiet confidence that says, even if the external landscape shifts, I am equipped to navigate it. This is not cynicism. This is maturity. There is strength in acknowledging that the world does not owe us permanence. There is dignity in accepting that even the best organizations cannot guarantee certainty in an unpredictable world, and there is clarity in recognizing that stability is no longer about staying somewhere long enough, but about remaining valuable, relevant, intelligent, and grounded wherever you go. This does not mean, by the way, that you live in anxiety. It means you live in awareness. Awareness fuels better decisions. So let's talk about that. You become more intentional with your development instead of passive. You invest in learning instead of coasting on familiarity. You build professional presence rather than hiding behind roles. You cultivate adaptability without abandoning standards. That is what strong professionals look like now. That is what executive maturity looks like now. And here's something important. Redefining stability doesn't mean accepting chaos. It means cultivating capability, accepting that systems can shift when you remain centered, acknowledging that the world may not slow down, but you can become someone who is not easily shaken as it moves. That, my friends, is a different kind of confidence, a more sustainable one, if you will. This is not a season for emotional theatrics or dramatic reinvention simply for the sake of appearing bold. This is a season for intelligent recalibration. It is about tightening your discipline, sharpening your thinking, strengthening your presence, and elevating the seriousness with which you treat your own development. It is about being honest with yourself without being harsh towards yourself. It is about respecting your journey without allowing nostalgia to trap you in outdated definitions of success. Strong professionals do not approach uncertainty with entitlement. They approach it with preparation. They double down on competence. They stay grounded in character. They build credibility that is not circumstantial but earned. And they remind themselves consistently that stability isn't something you chase, it is something you embody. Stability in this era is not guaranteed by external structures. It is demonstrated through internal strength. And the people who understand that operate differently. They lead differently even. They carry themselves differently. They're not frantic. They're not reactionary. They're not defined by the volatility around them. They're grounded. And grounded people do not break when the world refuses to be predictable. They rise, they recalibrate, and they redefine stability on their own terms. That is the conversation. I wanted to bring in a couple of sources here towards the end of this talk. Recent reporting by the Wall Street Journal confirms the shift we've been discussing is no longer theoretical, it is being measured. So I'm folding in here, spooked by AI and layoffs, white collar workers see their security slip away, written by Rachel Louise Onsign. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And the reporting draws on Federal Reserve labor market surveys and highlights 3 material changes that I'll bring forward now. First, college-educated, white-collar workers now perceive a meaningfully higher risk of job loss than they did several years ago. Second, those same workers report reduced confidence in their ability to secure new employment quickly if displaced. And third, this erosion of confidence exists even where overall employment remains relatively strong. So now I'll kind of go back into my spiel. Taken together, those findings, I think, point to a structural change in how stability is experienced. The issue is no longer whether work exists, but whether predictability does. And that distinction matters because predictability has historically been the psychological foundation of professional identity. Again, I'm bringing in an analysis that I'm drawing from the recent Wall Street Journal reporting, which also cited Federal Reserve labor market data. And there are a few points that I also wanted to tie in from the data side of things. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, let's start with this. So key data points, again, referenced from the Wall Street Journal in the article mentioned, college-educated workers estimate roughly a 15% probability of job loss within the next year, up from approximately 11% 3 years earlier. Confidence in finding a new job within 3 months, if laid off, has declined to below 50%, down from roughly 60% a few years ago. The article notes that this erosion in confidence exists even while overall employment levels for degree holders remain relatively strong, underscoring a psychological rather than purely statistical shift. In related reporting on the evolving labor landscape, the Financial Times explores the rise of quiet hiring, a practice where organizations increasingly look inward, retraining and redeploying existing employees rather than recruiting externally. This is quiet hiring, while managers are recruiting from their own ranks. This trend reflects a labor market where stability and opportunity are no longer disrupted by default from outside employers, but generated through internal adaptability and skill evolution, a dynamic that closely mirrors the structural shifts we've been discussing in this conversation. Again, this is the Financial Times, Bethan Stanton and Emma Jacobs, published February 10th, 2024. It examines a labor market practice worth noting. What quiet hiring signals in the modern environment is that employers are asking their own workforce to expand capabilities and take on new responsibilities before traditional external recruitment is perhaps even considered, maybe not. This aligns with a broader pattern in today's careers. Mobility, again, relevance and advancement increasingly come from within one's current context, not from guaranteed external progression. It underscores the growing premium on adaptability, reskilling, and proactive internal development. Conditions that support the idea that work stability has become a function of individual preparation and relevance rather than passive employment expectation. All right, I think that's enough. We've sort of spun through a lot of thoughts here, and I'll just end with this. The most durable form of security in today's workplace increasingly comes from building and deploying skill and relevance from within, not relying on old assumptions about stability arriving from outside. So I'd love to know what you think. Again, I'm Kimberly Minor. I'm so excited about this talk, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks a lot.